Simone. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO. I'm an investor. I'm a transformational coach, and just do a lot of things in my life. I love learning, growing, evolving, and I've taken a lot of I've taken a lot of chances in my life, and I'm constantly moving forward. And so I am so excited to share my secret weapon. Somebody who is has such profound gifts, and I just can't wait to share her with you today. And we're going to have a little discussion about what she does and how all this works in play, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're or whatever you're going through. We're all having life. We're all doing life. So I want to introduce you to Jessenia Novalillo. And I love the name. I say it all the time. It's very lyrical. It sounds like an Italian pastry to me. I know you're not Italian, but Jessenia is a multidimensional spiritual coach. That means she works with you on so many different levels. She goes into your Akashic records, which she's going to explain that, so she can heal past, present, future lives. She really can see right into where your subconscious blocks are. She heals all of that. I mean, she works on so many levels. She is so gifted, so talented. And personally, my dear, you are one of the most grounded, profound, clear healers and teachers I have ever met. And you're so young and amazing, and you're so talented. So thank you. So I want to know where, and we're going to get into all of that and how you work and all that, but just tell me where this guidance came from.
Well, thank you for all those really beautiful things. That's really sweet of you. I don't teach anything or share anything that I haven't learned firsthand through my own life or through clients. And I definitely had, I would say the best evidence is the life I've came from and the life I created with what I was given. I definitely had a very challenging experience, and we struggled with homelessness, with poverty, with sexual abuse, physical abuse, all types of struggle that I've had to heal from, overcome, change, and kind of alchemize in my own life to get to the place I am today. And in doing so was really led by spirit the whole time. So it's something that I've been able to now help other people with and learn more about in my process.
It's and you have such an amazing story. And I love that, even as a young age, I mean, you've had these gifts since you were a young girl. You've been, spirit has been guiding you. And then you just took it seriously in the sense that I know you're an avid learner. You've evolved and grown. And so now you have all these tools and techniques. I mean, so what was your, evolutionary process like, as far as, how, because I know you're interested in the science of it all. So is this a lifelong, I know the gifts started early, but, lifelong learning? I mean, how did that look for you?
Well, I always say, like, we don't understand how other people perceive the world or receive the world when we're younger, right? We think everybody thinks like us. We think everybody sees the world like we do. So I used to speak to hauntings in spirit and see angels at a very young age, but I thought everybody else could because I was communicating mostly telepathically. So I could have whole conversations with them in my minds, and they would tell me, to hang on, and they would tell me that things would get better, and they would tell me to be patient, and they would even tell me some of what I would accomplish in the future to get me to hold on to life. And I remember one of those incidences, I was about 5, and I was suicidal. I thought, I don't want to be here. I want to leave Earth. I'm done with this. I don't want to be present anymore. And I heard an angel came through and said, you're going to help people heal through the stuff you've been through, and you're going to make change in the world. You have to hang on, and you have to have hope. And so I thought, okay, I'll wait then. If I can help people, then I'll wait. And those types of situations, I thought everybody had, right? I thought everybody was surrounded by angels and could see it and could be guided and had these beautiful conversations that kind of gave them hope. And it wasn't until I was 26 years old that I realized, no, that's not the case. I truly believe everybody has gifts and access to their intuitive higher self, but I realized that with all the trauma and blocks and fear on Earth, a lot of us aren't open to it. So my belief system shattered at 26, where I was in a haunted house And I was directly communicating with spirit and having full-blown conversations and delivering evidential information to the tour guides there that they could confirm firsthand, and everybody else realizing they couldn't see dead people or talk to them. And so my reality shook, and I realized that I was living in a world kind of by myself my whole life, where I was doing all this stuff that other people absolutely do not do, and that it was so easy for me that even the tour guide at this house was like, oh, well, you're getting more information than a lot of the professional psychics and mediums who come here to intentionally investigate. How long have you been doing this? And I was like, today's my first time. I've never actually done this before. And just the response of everybody around me made me realize that it was a gift, but really an incredible gift that was not even developed and yet still incredibly powerful and evidential. And I loved hearing all of the evidence of the experience come through, things I would have never known, things that didn't make sense to me, but that I was openly sharing. And that really shook me up. I actually ran to the car to hyperventilate a while because it was really like, it shook my reality and I needed time to think about it. I realized that like I didn't see the world as other people saw the world. And I remember calling my mom and panicking in the car and thinking like, oh my God, I see spirits, I see hauntings, I talk to things. I didn't know that that was a gift. I didn't know that that was different. And she was like, I've always told you were gifted. I've always told you were special. And I was like, I thought you meant dumb. I thought she meant dumb. Like I was just a weirdo and different. And that's what she meant by that. And I was like, wow, this changes everything. All the way up until then, I had been really skeptical. So people couldn't read me. People couldn't give me more than what I already knew. Readers couldn't like bring value. So I believed that it was all hocus pocus and baloney. Honestly, I was addressing the world like 100% skeptic, even though I was reading people all the time, because I thought if you're going to read me, then you better tell me something that I don't already know that makes sense to me. And I couldn't find that anywhere. So I was actually a skeptic. And when I got all this evidence at this situation, I realized that not only am I gifted, but I want to create more evidence around the work, that I want to prove to people how evidential it can be and to figure out why we have blocks to clarity, to this beautiful, profound, very evidential information that was then confirmed by statistics and these people and these tour guides and these stories and the trial, because it was Lizzie Borden's house. So there was an actual trial on file that could confirm all the stuff I was seeing and hearing. That I had never known about. So it was very evidential. And that to me was something that I thought was really excited as a skeptic. It really excited me. I was like, how do we create more evidence? How do we hone in on these gifts? How do we train them better? And what makes my gifts different than other people's gifts? How can I make that stronger or more evidential or more powerful? And then teach people. Yeah. So that's kind of where it all started.
Well, and I want to give, share some examples of that, but that is exactly what I see with you in that's what I think helps you stand out. You're not just someone that just, gets these messages and does a reading. You have layered that over the years with, really honing in on, how does that affect the person, that message? Is that a block? Is that something they need to learn? And then you go through the process of actually healing that, and not just healing right what's happening now, but then you go back to the Akashic records and then you find the origin of that trauma, and then you heal that. And so there's truly, especially when you're working directly with people, there's a true healing taking place, because all those layers are going away, all those subconscious blocks, those belief systems. And so people get to create the life they've always imagined, but they were always prevented from, or they stopped themselves because of all this baggage, that they've taken with them. And I'll just give, some examples of my own life. And this is why this is so important for me. First of all, I adore you. One of the reasons I really connect with you and I adore you is that we've had a very similar experience. When I was 5, I was hurting myself, and I had a visitation from an angel, and that was my first message that I had great things to do, because I wasn't feeling that. I was brought up where I had no self-esteem. I felt very worthless, very unloved, but I knew I had evidence. Like I got a message from an angel that I was going to do great things. So I had that contrast growing up. So I was always seeking, to be better. then, because I knew how I was feeling. It was like I should be passing through that. That was not real. There was other things. So in any event, it's been a struggle, going into adulthood, because I became an overachiever. I had a very successful career in the corporate environment. I was a pharmacist. I practiced in hospitals, and ultimately was a pioneer in home health, held corporate positions, super successful, but always hard on myself. I always made money. Like I've always made money, but it came with a price. So I was trying to fit in all the time. I was overachieving, doing more than I needed to, all of that. And also I realized, and then there would be windfalls of money coming into my life. And even though I loved making money, a windfall would come in, and then I would sabotage it. It would go away. And that happened a couple of times. And I realized, oh, wait, I'm the common denominator of relationships, not having long lasting relationships. I'm the common denominator when all this money comes in and then it goes away quickly. I kept making it external to me. And so ultimately I chose to start doing this work with someone, because it's not just about what you do, it's how you do it, and your mindset and your emotional state and the trauma that, that has happened in your life. And I think a lot of people overlook that. They think they can just overcome that by working harder or thinking positively. And it's like, no, if you don't take responsibility for healing. And so over the years, I've sought out that kind of support. And I want to ask you about that a little bit, but and that's why I love working with Jessenia, because you have to understand, most of us are unconscious of, what's holding us back, but there are points of your life when you become a little more conscious of it. And so now you have an awareness of something's not working, of relationships, that are always going awry, of people that are betraying you, or money that goes away, or, being passed over, or just even health issues and things like that. And so at some point you realize, I'm creating this, because there's no one else to blame, because we get into the blame game and the victim game for a while. And then at some point you take responsibility. And that point of awareness is the greatest point of transformation, I think. And so that's, for me, that's when I've sought help. Now, and we're going to talk about this, but I just want to set some context. What happens in your life as you start becoming more aware of what's not working, and then you start moving past that, now you're up against new thresholds. You're up against new levels of success. All of a sudden, you may have called in the love of your life, and you're like, holy crap, what do I do now? All of a sudden you're making the money that you want. And so I want people to understand, this is like a lifelong process. There's so much that we can heal, so we can grow. And every time you grow, you're going to hit another plateau, because you're going to reach another threshold. So I want people to be really conscious of it. And that's why it's so important to start connecting, with people like Jessenia, especially, I think Jessenia is great, but just to understand that's the work that she does. Because it's like, you're constantly peeling the layers of the artichoke or the onion, and, all of that. And so you can go to higher and higher levels. And so just as a, in my life right now, I have a relationship with someone who's really my soulmate. Jessenia has told me we've had 49 lives together, so we're exploring that. But I've been in a relationship for 10 years, and we're engaged, and we're partners. So we're working on mastering the relationship side of things. As far as business, I have a multi-million-dollar business. I've had major successes. I'm a speaker, author. I do a lot of humanitarian work, and just really, doing my life right now. And my family, like, I'm not even recognized in my family based on where I came from to what I have now, what I'm experiencing. And so a lot of that has to do with the work that I'm doing with Jessenia. And so I want to take you through that. I want you to articulate. So let's real quick, and thank you for indulging me, because I think it's important people understand, like, why would I want to go to a psychic? It's like, yeah, it's not just going to a psychic. It's somebody that could really look at, and by the way, there's a lot of do it yourself that everyone can do. I like it done for me. So I like people to tell me what's wrong, and then we just go right there. So we're going to go through a few things. So one of the things I think has been very profound is to invest time in going through Akashic records, which are past lives. Now, we don't, thank God, we don't generally have memories of that. as humans. So when you come back, you're here to, really heal. If you're smart and get to do that, you heal what didn't work in the last lifetime. But a lot of us keep repeating the same thing. So tell me how Akashic, going back to the Akashic records and what you do, allows people to move on from any past, trauma and beliefs and all of that.
Yes. So that's kind of like my world, the Akashic records. I'd say that's my their gift, right? Because everybody wants to know. It's that, honestly, the way that I explain our past lives, it's this bubble of information and this feeling of knowing that we want, that is like hovering right over us. And for me, it was finally like I was able to pop that bubble and know myself deeply, right? All of my patterns made sense. All of my likes, wants, needs, desires, fears made sense to me. I knew who I was more than anybody else could ever tell me, because it's there. We all have the ability to access our own past lives, but we don't, because it's a very, essentially we would relive it all and we would fall into the same patterns. So if we pull up a past life trigger in a relationship by accident, sometimes we try to recreate that relationship, even if it's not made for this life. So it actually has a lot of side effects of being used inappropriately. And one of the most common misconceptions is that when you finish Earth, you're perfectly healed from everything you created on Earth. Just because you created karmic balance does not mean you are perfectly healed. And I want to acknowledge this because I have worked with people who are essentially done with Earth and came back on contract to help this particular shift we are currently under. And yes, they have trauma. Yes, they have blocks. Yes, they have patterns and belief systems that have occurred on Earth that still need repair. The way I like to explain it is like you play Mario, but you didn't get any of the coins, right? We had the experience, but we didn't fully get every single point or understand every single belief system or everything that happened to us. That's the power of going back to these experiences to reprogram them. And what we're really doing is, if you yourself, your soul is this beautiful energetic body with 1,000 layers, and every layer an experience you had on Earth, that we can go back into it and we can heal and recalibrate. And that changes the way you show up in the world as you, as Maria, because we've removed these blocks to experience, we've shifted that vibration, and then now it surfaces differently. So it changes everything about how we function, how we behave, how our patterns repeat, how our illnesses repeat, how our belief systems repeat, or how we continue to like choose people who are destructive or bad or negative. We can acknowledge the difference and move with intention. So it's kind of the difference between endlessly suffering and then being proactive, right? Because the endless suffering is the repeating of the stuff we don't understand. That's why we keep feeling like we're hitting walls and sabotaging and hurting ourselves and hurting others and leaping into relationships that don't serve us, versus being intentional with it and proactive about it and saying, oh yeah, I recognize that pattern. Not playing this time. I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that again.
And you can oh, go ahead. I just want to make a comment. Also, it's not a random thing. I mean, I know when we work together, I've had certain areas of my life that I've wanted to focus on: relationship, financial, health, which I think most people are. But, you've been able to go back and target those, Akashic records that have to do with my relationship with Chad, or money, or, my own personal health. And it's been amazing, because every time you do that, and by the way, Jessenia does the work. She has the experience. You don't have to experience the pain of a past life. And she has that experience, and she'll recount that for you, which you get to hear, but then she clears it. And so there's what is that? Like there's a visceral feeling, of like a layer being removed, or, like a belief system that no longer is there anymore, like dissipates, So what is that? What happens?
So if you are an accumulation of your experiences, whether you are conscious of them or not. So the idea is that I find those unconscious layers, I clear them, I correct them, and you no longer respond to them. So that's your feeling. You now have conscious awareness of it, but you also feel relieved of it and removed, or you feel the block release. Sometimes we even have like an emotional release, an energetic release. We may need to cry, we may need to sleep, we may need to rest. That's just it shifting out of your body. And then the next day we feel great, right? We feel amazing. The same happens in this life. If we could imagine, like if I go to a past memory and I realize realize, oh, that was hard, that was difficult. I might shed a couple of tears as I'm releasing the memory and working on it. Then it becomes a moment of self-reflection, of growth, of power, of love, of compassion, and then I can move from it. So it's kind of like, it's the repeated pattern, but it's past life experience. And I do act like a buffer. So there are definitely times where I can get sick or I get dizzy or I get overwhelmed and I need to pause or take a moment or take some time to clear it. But that's the beauty of it, is that we don't repeat the life because it's been properly cleared. And that can create side effects in itself. I've had a lot of clients come to me who went to past life regression therapies and didn't have lives properly cleared. And what they had was an open vortex where all the same illness and pain was repeating in their life. And it was really bad. It was an overwhelming experience. I had one like that myself, where I was like vomiting or felt like I had to vomit and I had to pull myself out of it. And then it lingered for a while until I went back in. So like I've honed in and mastered it first with myself, feeling what was lingering, feeling what was trapped, feeling what I didn't properly clear, properly clearing it and seeing everything in my life change in response to it. Right. So I was able to really pay attention to the patterns and the surface information and the memories and then clear that and then help other people do the same.
Yeah. And so there's something that's beautiful. So I love, so I've really appreciated the work we've done with the Akashic Records. It's really helped in, so many areas of my life. And just the like when you send me the recording, like afterwards, like I do have like this visceral feeling, like there's shifts happening in my life and I'm trying to be conscious of it. And then all of a sudden I forget, then you move on, right? And then you realize a while later, oh, wait, I'm not doing that thing anymore, like that. So another thing that I really appreciate, being in the present. So having a session with you, I love, because we may not always know. I think some people have different areas of their life they're not getting results in, but I love how you go in and you pick up on whatever is most needed, for someone, and and usually taking them by surprise, because there's been quite a few friends that have called me and said, holy cow, I did not know this was happening. So I love, like, you don't even have to say anything to you just hone in. And so there's such a profound healing in such a short amount of time. Like, how do you do that? So you go in and you're getting guidance from spirit on what, is really happening with the person, especially if there's illness, right? Or there's a relationship, or they're having money issues. I've seen you do it in all these different areas, and they just don't know what they can't see, what they can't see. And so what happens? What do you do there?
I think that ties into my obsession with evidence. I love evidence. So what I do is, usually what a session looks like is I'll get on Zoom, and most of my clients love that. Most of my clients want it to be spiritually led. They don't even want to talk about what they want to talk about. They're like, what does spirit need to tell me? Right. And I just let spirit lead. I do a scan. They give me a bunch of information, and then I just kind of start discussing what we're finding. And the thing is, like, for example, I've never had a situation where I sit with someone and I'm like, you have relationship problems, good luck. You're making bad decisions, good luck, right? It's you're having bad relationship problems because you have this pattern, because we have all these lives, because you have a bad relationship with your mother and your father. We go into it and we get very profound, detailed examples without the client ever saying a word. And that's the shift. That's the shift. The connection, my mom wasn't the best mom. My mom didn't nurture me. I struggled in childhood. I never felt valuable. I never felt love. And I'm now projecting that onto my relationship. Mind blown. Like, that's the connection, the profound shift in awareness that we all need. And then we heal it, right? We go in and we pull up all the ways we're responding from it, how deeply that's affecting our relationship, and we repair, we heal, we work through it. And a lot of those memories are things people don't even acknowledge as problematic. They just think,
right,
I had a great childhood. I was perfectly fine. But then when we surface the examples, they're like, holy crap. It's always the thing we didn't think was a problem that's the biggest problem.
You are a psychic detective. I'm telling you, I've heard, tell me the most profound awareness that you were able to bring to someone, because you've had doozies. They could have gone through years of therapy, all kinds of stuff, and they probably would never have gotten to that point. So, but that's what you are, psychic detective. So
I've
tell
had
the
I've had
sound
so
example.
many. I've had so many really fascinating stories surface. I love my job. Like I've taken time off to do other things and work on other projects, and every single time I'm like, I miss work because it's so fascinating. I love learning, and I'm always learning, right? Because this information, these clients, they teach me something new every single time. Spirit teaches me something new every single time. So one of my favorite examples was I was working with a client and we were having a mediumship connection to their deceased mother. And their deceased mother comes in and confesses that she had this child out of wedlock. She tells us when, where, at a party, a work party with her husband's friend that worked in the company and all of the above. So she, mind blown, was like, that doesn't make sense. I know my father. Leaves, does research, comes back, holy shit, I found the person, the DNA. I did a DNA test. I found the person. They said exactly what you said at the party, that they had a moment. And that was where I was conceived, but that he didn't know about me. He just assumed that I belonged to my father. So this thing had, first of all, the mother heals on the other side. Mind blowing, right? She was carrying the weight of this secret her whole entire life. And that was very heavy for her. And she wanted to release it. She wanted forgiveness. She wanted it to stop negatively affecting her daughter. Her daughter was able to change. Essentially, she felt rejected and alienated from her family her whole entire life and didn't know why. She felt this need of not belonging, not fitting in. She was genetically different in terms of so another doozy that spirit dropped on her was, you're neurodivergent. This changed her whole entire perception of her life and how she fit in, because she realized her whole life she thought she was weird and thought she didn't fit in. Meanwhile, she was just a fascinating human being with a different program. So now, instead of it being a subconscious limitation that was taking away all her freedom and connection and creating anxiety, we're now hacking it and understanding how to use these neurodivergent programs for evolution and power and creativity and all this amazing stuff that comes with knowing who you are, right? So instead of letting it limit her and obstruct her, she now has a freedom. But then she realizes her whole father's side is neurodivergent. So there's this big click and link with her identity, who she is, and all of her pain suddenly makes sense. So it was just a profound example of, like, the mediumship creating evidential connection, creating healing that helped her shift her whole entire awareness trajectory in life for her evolution. And that's just one example. I have so many.
I know you too. Great. We're gonna save that for the podcast and the TV show and all that. Great stories. So something else that I noticed, just a couple of more things I want to share about, my experience, and I know people that I know are having a similar experience. One thing I love, especially, having regular sessions with you, so now here we are. So you're going back to past life, you're healing that. You're dealing with whatever's happening presently and healing that and finding the origin. I mean, like I said, you're a psychic detective. So you go, you uncover the problem, and you're right. You don't just leave it at that. You really go through the steps of healing that, whatever that is. But what I also appreciate is, here we all are in the world now, especially if you're like an entrepreneur, a business owner, if you're doing things where you're not stagnant in your life. Some people are just have a quiet life and it's not changing, but many of us are doing our lives. We're on social media, we're having relationships, we're engaging with different groups, we're making money, investing money. And so there's all this interaction with everyone out there. So not only you want to be the best person you can be, but now you have outside influences. And, I would say some of the biggest learning lessons in my life have come from being in the wrong relationship, not choosing as wisely as I could have to have some kind of an interaction or, a negotiation or whatever, doing something with someone. And I'm sure many people can relate to that, especially if people have taken advantage of you in love or money or, whatever. And I know we all play a part, but here's how you are. I love how you are my secret weapon in this. During our sessions, as we're healing ourselves, we also have the opportunity to talk about, what's happening around me. Here are the relationships we're having. We're thinking about a partnership with this person. This person offered to invest in our company here. we're putting a deal here together. And you have helped me, and this has really been profound. You've really helped us navigate, who not only, who we should be and who we shouldn't be working with, which has really helped save me a lot of time and money and aggravation. Just really looking at, the hidden intentions and the people that we're interacting with. So not only Jessenia is looking at you, but she can look at all the people that are around you, and really, and not to make anyone good or bad, to see, which relationships are in your best interest, which has really been helpful. So we have been on the fence about certain things, and you're like, no, this may not be in your best interest. And that was so helpful. That truly saved us a lot of, time and energy. And that was so priceless. But in other ways, like, we had people that were on the fence about investing in one of my companies. And, we didn't want to be, we're seeing what is the best win-win, for this situation, because we knew he was interested, but we weren't expressing it properly. And you told me on a Friday morning, you told me exactly what this person needed. And you said you had to write it up this way. And we did. So I wrote it up. I wrote up a synopsis of what we were doing in a different way, because I wasn't thinking, oh, that's what he needed. You told me exactly what this person, would benefit him. And then we presented it on a Friday night, and on Saturday morning, he called us and he goes, oh, thanks for sending that. This looks great. I have a few questions. We answered his questions. He goes, okay, I'm in, like that. This is like many, many months. I mean, this is somebody we've known for a long time, but we were wanted, we desired to deepen our relationship and our partnership, and it was so effortless. So I want to thank you for that. I just want people to understand, like, working, because ideally we all want to be at that place. I think we all, and we all have the opportunity to be more intuitive, and that is such a perfect way of being, to really tap into your own intuition, your inner knowing, to get your own guidance, and to make those decisions based on that, rather than just trying to guess or be intellectual, because that usually gets you in trouble. And so I know more people would like to be like that, but we just have, we have all this gunk right around us. So I appreciate that, because what the work that we're doing, and I'm going to let you speak in a second, but I want people to understand, like, how profound this is. So you're uncovering all these layers, all these things that are preventing me from really tapping into my full intuition, to really owning, my gifts, and just living a life of flow and ease and all of that, which I really am, I feel myself, it's getting, it's so, I am there. I just love to get better at, it's just, I love having a more profound experience. But when you're doing that work with me and others, you're uncovering those layers, those boundaries, right? That you're taking the veils off and all that. So you're helping us all tap into our greater spiritual gifts. But in the meantime, you're like our seeing eye dog. That's another thing that I love, right? So can you explain, like, and you do it so lovingly and elegantly. This is not, manipulative. And I just want to be clear. It's not about making anyone wrong, but sometimes we interact and we don't always know what's in our highest and best interest. And you are like that. You're a guide dog, with that. So explain how you do that, or a little bit about that, because I think that's important.
So all of my advice and all of my information is always direct to spirit, to my spirit guides, your lives, your patterns, your higher self. So I'm letting spirit lead, and I make sure to let spirit lead. And I've trained myself that way, because that's always going to be what's best for you and everybody around you. Spirit is never going to say, here, take advantage of this person, hurt this person. And I love that, because it allows me to move forward in life with confidence that I'm supporting everybody's evolution, creating unions that were supposed to happen or made to happen. And sometimes the relief is knowing it's not supposed to happen, and we need to stop forcing something that wasn't in your best interest, right? Or it wasn't in theirs. So there's a lot of beautiful all around healing for everyone involved, but absolutely that my goal is always that in helping people heal and sometimes confirming their own intuition with people and having these discussions and supporting the process, we expose gifts in others. I truly believe everybody has gifts. And to me, a gift is an energetic processing program that helps support collective health and union or evolution. So my goal has always been that if I want people to see clearly and trust their intuition and use their gifts to support and help others, then we have to heal first. And what I see, like if we're all like this energetic pool, and we have all this debris of what we can't do, what we shouldn't do, how we've hurt others, this guilt, this grief, this pain, then it's going to be the first thing we hear and see. So essentially our pain blocks our intuitive connection. Our pain blocks, our fear blocks, our inner voice, our inner dialogue, our self-sabotage, our bad habits, our bad patterns just sits there, and we allow it to sit there because we don't know any other way of living. So the clearing, the healing, the restructuring clears up that pool, and suddenly people are much more connected and much more aware. And imagine it this way: if you realize a toxic pattern and you now have that very deep awareness of where it originated, you are very quick to realize when it surfaces again in your life. So you no longer need to participate in it, and I no longer need to guide you because you see it very clearly for yourself now. So we can move on to the next lesson. You've reprogrammed a new way of being into your conscious thinking, and that's liberated you from that pattern, and we can now move on to another pattern. So I always say my goal is always to help you trust yourself, help you elevate yourself, help you trust your intuition, your higher self, and to teach you how to connect to that, right, in a loving, profound way. And the idea is hopefully you won't need me at some point. Hopefully you'll get so clear and so self-guided that you won't want to call me or need me, because you can do it yourself. And that's the beauty of it, is that everyone has that potential and that ability. And that's really always been my goal. So yeah, that's kind of what we need.
Jessenia, that's like it's like the prize of, as a result of working with you, this is the end result. This is the goal. This is the prize, because that's what naturally happens, as you do all this clearing, your intuition is sparked, and you're making decisions with more confidence. And as I said, you have more ease and flow in your life. There's no pushing on anything. Money flows easier. The relationships, are flowing. Like I've even, I'm losing more weight now. Like I wanted to eliminate some weight now, and I recognize at different times in my life there are there are reasons why we hold on to excess, pounds that we would like not to have. And so I recognize that in my life too. And so that's shifting. And so, but that's the goal I think for everyone. And there's because I've had that in my life for so many years, and I long for more of it. And not everyone is experiencing that, right? Like most people I find don't trust their intuition. It's there, but they don't trust it. So you want to get to a place where you've done all the healing. And I don't want to say you're doing all the work, because when you're working with Jessenia, like she's really doing, that work. She's guiding you, but she's doing a lot. I think you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting personally. So I love that you're like our secret weapon in this, but it's fairly effortless, and you just kind of flow through it. And then it's like the veils are lifted, and you start getting these very wonderful downloads, and you get more confidence, and you're trusting yourself. And, you make decisions based on that, as opposed to what other people think you should be doing, or obligation, or all that. So it's really important. If you want to have, there's no way that I would have the success, I have in my life. There's no way we would have a multi-million dollar business in such a short period of time. We like in one of my businesses, we took in millions of dollars in orders, just under 2 million, like in 2 days. Stuff like that starts happening. There's no, I've reconnected. I have my soulmate. I'm with my soulmate, and I have a lot of people, in my life who are still looking for someone. And, so I have so much abundance around this, and it's not because of luck, and it's not, because I forced anything. It's because I took control of my life by, healing and doing this work. And it makes such a difference. And it's probably the easiest work that you can do as opposed to working hard, working harder, to make money or whatever. So I just want to thank you for that, because it really does work. And I love how you work on so many different levels. And so, okay, I want to get to, so thank you again. So you have so much to offer people. And let's share how people can connect with you. So what is you want them to go to your website if people want to experience you, right?
Yes. It's my name, jessenianozalillo.com.
JESSENIA
NOZZOLILLO.com.
See, it sounds like a pastry, right? So go to Jessenia Novalillo. Oh my gosh. Novalillo. And so she's got she got lots of content. She has a book, she has courses, she's got group coaching, very affordable. I've been on her group coaching calls, profound. She actually does the healings on the call. So if you want to put your toe into it, if you want to do it yourself, experience and access that, it's very accessible, very affordable. I do recommend investing in a session, at least a healing session, and starting the work with her. I personally jumped in, and we're working together for the next year. It's been the single best investment I've made in my life. And when you think about it, they say you can't take it with you, right? You can't, whatever you do in this life, making money and doing all the things and all the, all your stuff, you're not going to take it with you. But what do you say about this work?
Healing is the only investment you take with you after the grave, because it affects your whole soul, and therefore how you show up in your next life, which is beautiful.
And trust me, you want to start healing this crap, because it's with you that's the baggage that you're going to take. So it's amazing. It's worth it. You're going to have fun. I really enjoy the experience with you. I love how grounded you are. You're not untethered. It's very clear. And so I just so appreciate and love you. And I just want to thank you. So I'm so glad that we had this time together. And so give us a little, and you always have such wisdom and nuggets. So let's talk about baggage real quick, because I heard you talk about that on a call. So let's wrap it up with like your take on baggage.
Well, I think one of the most important things is we live in a world that has had a lot of spiritual ego, where people come forward with gifts and they think like, worship me, right? I have all the answers. And what I've realized is we all come to earth to heal. We all have lessons. We all have things we have to overcome. We all have gifts. We all have these beautiful powers. And if we can step outside of that long enough, we can heal and face them and recalibrate them. But also that, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're already done with Earth. That only means you've completed your karmic debts. It doesn't mean you understood all the lessons. If we look at the history of Earth, psychology is fairly new. Emotional comprehension is fairly new. So what we have the potential to do in this life that is so groundbreaking, earth-shattering, and cosmic in evolution is we have the ability to go back to these experiences, reevaluate them, heal them, recalibrate them, and learn new things that we didn't even know back then. And then elevate the soul, really what I call like a quantum leap in evolution for ourselves and for the world. So it's this like interdimensional healing structure that we've allowed ourselves to do. And we all have baggage. Because if we think about all of those lessons in lives created outside of emotional comprehension or psychological understanding, we've got a lot of wounds we've carried naturally existing on Earth, right? Spirit calls it first taint, that just being here means we've experienced some type of trauma because we're in a world where other people are wounded. And one of my favorite things that they told me is we are just conductors of energy. Our body is a vessel in which we conduct energy. And if we are not conducting love, we are conducting the pain of our experiences. Mm-hmm. So healing that means we are conductors of love, and therefore we give to others, help support others, and elevate the world together. So that's just, to me, when we think about the reality of it, there is no such thing as perfect. There's no such thing as healed. There's no such thing as like guru or leader or anything. It's just that we all have that potential and we rise together. And that's my goal here, is to get people to understand their power, understand their gifts, understand their ability to do good and change the world around them through love, right? Be more loving.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I was going to ask you for a final word, but that's That I think that's you just beautifully summed it all up. So love yourself and take some time to really explore Jessenia's gifts, gift it to yourself. Just if you haven't experienced this type of healing and doing this kind of work, I highly recommend it. You can't have success without doing that. It's not going to be sustainable without the healing, without the love, especially the self-love. So thank you so much. I adore you, and I look forward to what's next.
Thank you so much for putting this together, Maria, and for all the beautiful things you said. It's so sweet. I appreciate you.